Have a huge story that's coming out of Milwaukee as Giannis is basically exploring a trade. Sooner than later, Giannis will be traded from the Milwaukee Bucks. What is being reported right now through ESPN, CBS, and from Fox is that he's just exploring other options. Giannis is set to meet with the Milwaukee Bucks and their officials and the front office and discuss the future of this organization. But there is no future with Giannis on this roster. I'm just being real here. And the reason why I say that, they don't have their own first round pick until 2031. You traded your first round picks to bring in Jrue Holiday many years ago. Fast forward a couple years later, after you won that championship with the Phoenix Suns, you traded first round picks to bring in Dame from the Portland Trail Blazers. So you can't just go out there and fully tank. And right now, the roster is not good enough to contend with Giannis, and they're damn sure not good enough to contend without Giannis. Giannis has said this multiple times since he first won his championship with Milwaukee. He wants to win more championships before he retires, and he's right in the prime of his career. He's 30 years old. Let's just say Giannis does come back with Milwaukee. The best players around him would be Bobby Portis, Kyle Kuzma, Kevin Porter Jr., Gary Trent Jr. We just saw this same team lose in the first round to the Indiana Pacers. The Eastern Conference has gotten better over the last 5 years, while the Milwaukee Bucks have gotten worse. When I look at that Dame trade, in hindsight, they should have never made that trade. Jrue Holiday was the perfect point guard to have alongside Giannis. He's a point guard that doesn't need the basketball in his hand the entire game. He can set up shots for others, and he's a definition of a 3-and-D player. You look at Dame. Great offensive player, especially at the time they made the trade. You would think him in the pick and roll with Giannis, letting Giannis roll to the rim on a consistent basis, he can average his 30 points. You have to pick your poison. Do you want Dame to shoot the three ball, one of the best three-point shooters we've seen in NBA history? Or do you want Giannis to kill you at the rim and give him multiple opportunities to possibly get extra free throws? But it never materialized because of bad coaching. They had Coach Budenholzer, who helped them win that championship against the Phoenix Suns. They fired him after they lost to the Miami Heat in the first round. That same Heat team went to the NBA Finals against Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. That was a scrappy Heat team. And I said this in the past, they should have never fired Mike Budenholzer. This was a man that was dealing with an injured roster. Giannis missed time with a back injury, and yet you still put up good games against the Heat. And he had just lost his brother. Rest his soul. So he was dealing with a lot there. Was he the perfect head coach to have at that point in time? No, but he did the best that he could. You moved on from Budenholzer. You bring in Adrian Griffin to be your head coach. You were the first seed in the Eastern Conference. You were a top seed in one of the best situations in the NBA with Dame and Giannis. Reports came out that ownership and the general managing staff, they did not have a lot of faith and him moving forward in terms of turn the defense back to where it once was a couple of years ago. That was never going to be the case. Dame has never been a good defensive player. He's a defensive liability, but his offense was always so good that it made him one of the best players in the NBA to have. The Milwaukee Bucks, they never had the personnel to help out Dame on the defensive side of the ball. So you fire Adrian Griffin. And they go out there and they hire Doc Rivers to be their interim head coach. And now Doc Rivers is their head coach. And I've said my gripes about Doc Rivers in the past. Doc Rivers is one of the most overrated head coaches in basketball history. He is known for that one championship with the Boston Celtics. I look at Doc Rivers as this. He's the master at choking a 3-1 lead. That's what he is known for. Doc Rivers, in my opinion, he's a good head coach. He's not a great one. He has coached great talent. But they have always had a short shelf life in the playoffs because of him. Whenever he coaches great teams, they always fall up short of expectations. We've seen this with numerous organizations right now. With the Boston Celtics, many years ago, they only won one championship with that loaded roster. The Los Angeles Clippers, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. You can say the Clippers are cursed. They were blowing 3-1 leads with him as the head coach. The same with the Philadelphia 76ers. So now he's your current head coach. And bad trade after bad trade has put the Milwaukee Bucks in this situation. You could say, let's go out there and let's just tank. They can't. They don't hold the rights to their first round picks. So this is not a situation that the 76ers had many years ago when they trust the process. It's not going to happen. It's best off that you move on from Giannis, who's averaging 30 points a game, 11 rebounds, 6.5 assists, shooting 60% from the field. You can get a lot of draft picks and get a lot of good young players that can help you be a solid team in the Eastern Conference. But the days of contending, going to the Eastern Conference Finals, winning a championship, those days are done. With and without Giannis, they're just not good enough right now, and they need that draft capital. And it's very interesting that this story broke on the same day as the draft lottery for the NBA. This is going to have huge implications of where Giannis is going to possibly go. The top fits for me would be the Houston Rockets. That's the first team. A lot of young players, some veterans. They have a lot of draft picks. That's the first team. The Brooklyn Nets. There's a lot of reports that Giannis, he goes to New York. He vacations with his family. The Knicks, they don't have first round picks either. They traded five first round picks to bring in Mikal Bridges. And that's one of those trades you look at on hindsight, you just shake your head. What could have been? But I look at the Brooklyn Nets. They have a lot of first round picks. They have some young players. You can make that deal work out. It has to make sense for both sides. Giannis wants to contend for a championship, and the Milwaukee Bucks, they want draft picks and young players that can help them possibly win right now, win as many games possible. Personally, if I'm the Milwaukee Bucks, I'm not trading him to a team in the Eastern Conference. You're going to the other conference. You're going to the Western Conference. And I look at the Houston Rockets. I look at the San Antonio Spurs. But no one will look at Giannis and say that he was a diva, say that he was disloyal. He spent 12 years with this organization. He won them a championship, Finals MVP, and 2 league MVPs as a Milwaukee Buck. They're going to retire his number and hang it in the rafters, and rightfully so. I will never forget the team of him, Drew Holiday, Brook Lopez, and Chris Middleton, and Dante DiVincenzo, even though he was injured in the playoffs. That was a special team with the Milwaukee Bucks, and was easily one of the best teams that they have produced in NBA history within their organization. And it's sad to see them be in this position because of bad trades and mismanaging players. This is another example. They moved on from Chris Middleton at the trade deadline. They traded for Kyle freaking Kuzma. And on top of that, you had to sweeten the deal. They traded a young guard in A.J. Johnson. A.J. Johnson became a valuable piece with the Washington Wizards towards the end of the season. He did not put up superstar numbers, but he would average 10 to 15 points at certain points of times towards the end of the season. The Milwaukee Bucks could have easily used that alongside Giannis in the first round against the Pacers, while Kyle Kuzma is out there being cardio man, Tony Snell 2.0. Kyle Kuzma is not a championship contending player. I know why you traded Chris Middleton, the knee injuries, the ankle surgeries. He was never going to be the same player and have the same impact that he once had when they won that championship against the Suns. But I promise you this, Kyle Kuzma and the contract that he has now is not worth it for any team in the NBA that wants to win a championship. The Dallas Mavericks tried to trade for Kyle Kuzma a couple of years ago. He wanted to stay with the Washington Wizards, and he wanted to, quote unquote, build something special. He did build something special. They traded him to the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Washington Wizards got better when he was off the team. Kyle Kuzma is not a good, consistent basketball player. He had his moments with the Wizards. He had his moments with the Lakers. He gets a lot of tunnel vision on the court. There's a lot of times I look at Kyle Kuzma, he becomes a ball hog. He's not that type of caliber player to go out there and to be taking the shots that he's taking. You would think that Kyle Kuzma is a superstar. He's taking a bunch of pull-up threes, going up on 2 people at the rim. That's not his game. And he was terrible from 3 this year. His efficiency was terrible for a starting player. And they were depending on him to take over that role as a Chris Middleton type. It was never going to happen. And that was just a terrible deal all around. And with the CBA being in full effect right now, if this was 5 years ago with the Bucks, this is a different situation. We're talking about them still going out there and still throwing money around to other players. But now if you hit that second apron, you're in salary cap hell in the NBA. They are serious about not having super teams. Now, if you draft and develop your own players, that's different. They don't want another situation how you saw many years ago with the Golden State Warriors when they had Draymond, Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant. The days of a big 3, those days are over with. Look at the Phoenix Suns right now. They hit that second apron with Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker. And they're going to have to possibly trade Devin Booker and Kevin Durant to be above float for over the next few years. That is how serious that second apron is. And when you look at teams like the Milwaukee Bucks and the Phoenix Suns, the rest of the NBA, they're looking around, they're saying, hey, we're not going to make any drastic changes to our roster unless it makes sense. But this is a bad situation for Milwaukee all around. You still have Bobby Portis coming off the bench. Bobby Portis is still a very good bench player, but he doesn't have the same impact. When we look at Bobby Portis 2-3 years ago, easily one of the best bench players that you can have in the game, and he still is. But he can come off the bench and average 20-25 points any given night. I look at Bobby Portis. He was suspended majority of the regular season. He was able to give you good production, but it just didn't have the same impact that it once had. So I look at it from this standpoint, a bad coaching staff with Doc Rivers and with Darvin Ham and a lack of talent on the roster, it makes sense to move on from Giannis. And I love the way that this was worded by ESPN. They basically came out and say, hey, he's not asking for a trade, but he's looking for other options. Whenever someone is looking for other options, they already have one foot out the door. Giannis wants to leave. They just don't want to come out and say it. So I'll just say it. Giannis does not want to be on the Milwaukee Bucks anymore because they cannot compete for a championship. He loves the city. He loves the organization. They're just not good enough right now. And they're heading into two different directions. This is a player that's in his prime. And this is a team that's in a major need of a rebuild. It's okay. If you want to publish an article and just say Giannis is requesting a trade is going to happen sooner than later. That's basically what they want to say. Whenever we hear about superstars, well, man, he's potentially talking to this team with his agent. He's already checked out. And I don't blame Giannis. The last 3 years in the first round, they have been bounced out. And back-to-back-to-back years in the prime of this man's career. And I do think that Giannis could win a championship with a team like the Spurs. Imagine him in Wemby. Imagine him on the Houston Rockets with those young guns. And imagine Milwaukee Bucks. If you're a Bucks fan, this may be terrible. This is horrible news. But you will get those draft picks. You still have players that you could possibly bring in and help your team out long term. And now look at Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez is 37 years old on an expiring contract. He's a backup center now. He doesn't have the same post defense. He doesn't have the same three-point prowess that he was able to give you many years ago. And that's okay. They went all in and it didn't work out. I'm not going to come on here and basically say fire the general manager, fire everyone in the front office. Sometimes you go all in and it doesn't work out. And unfortunately for the Bucks, it didn't work out, but at least you won that championship a few years back. I don't agree with the trades. I don't agree with moving on from the head coaches like Budenholzer and same with Adrian Griffin, but it is what it is. You're in this spot now. You can only build forward. And the part of building forward is moving on from Giannis and trying to set your organization up in the best way possible. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you feel about Giannis possibly leaving the Milwaukee Bucks, and what team is the best fit with Giannis? And I will say this before I let you guys go. He has 3 years left on his contract, $175 million. And he has a player option in the 2027-2028 season. So when you trade for Giannis, you're getting him for the next 3 to 4 years. And one more thing with the contract situation. They can't move off of Dame. I see a lot of reporters saying that they possibly could. It's impossible. He's making over $100 million. He just tore his Achilles. He's a defensive liability, and he's 34 years old. He's going to miss majority, if not all, of next season. No one is trading for Dame. And it's sad to see him in this spot. He spent his entire career with Portland underachieving, not because of his playing style. It wasn't all his fault. The organization could never put the right pieces around him, only for him to come over to the Milwaukee Bucks, play with Giannis, his best teammate ever in terms of talent. And look at the situation that he ran into. And I look at the Milwaukee Bucks, they panicked. They felt like Dame was going to possibly go to a team in the Eastern Conference like the Miami Heat, and they said, hell no, he needs to be in Milwaukee. And you traded Drew Holiday to Portland only for the Celtics to say, you know what, we'll take him on and he'll help us win a championship. And that's what happened last year. You went all in. You took a major swing and it was a major miss. But if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.